Okay, I'm back. It's part two. And I'm going to title this "A Question for the American People." You know, I told you about this guy that they arrested on a $50 billion scheme, taking money from the beginning investors, and toward the end of the year paying the beginning investors with new investors' money. But it never was creating more money. Okay. Now, I got a question for you. What is the biggest scheme that's ever been created? The biggest scheme is actually the creation of the Federal Reserve. That's the biggest scheme that's ever been. Okay? And the accomplices to it are the federal government. The Federal Reserve is a private entity, and I'm not doing a video on the Federal Reserve. But they're the biggest scheme that's ever been. The biggest Ponzi scheme. And yet the American people, lots of them, are asleep and think that all that government does is great. Well, I'm going to show you some stuff on the $700 billion bailout. I'm working with two computers, making a video on the laptop and the flat screen I'm going to use instead of paper today. So y'all bear with me if I turn my head and all. Some of you want me to sit still and never move, but you know, like I said, I'm trying to do the best I can do. I'm only human, and every one of us are able to make mistakes. So y'all bear with me on this. But okay. CompanyPay.com, Citigroup. I'm going to do the compensation first, then I'm going to tell you how much bailout money they've got. Okie dokie. Name, Charles Prince, Chairman and CEO, year 2006. Total compensation, $25,975,719. Okay, CFO, that's Chief Financial Officer, $9,918,267, 1 year alone. Okay, Chairman of the Executive Committee, $17,341,304. Don't get bored with the numbers, I'm going somewhere. COO, Chief Operating Officer, $15,709,046. Stephen Valk, Vice Chairman, $9,825,936. Now, if you'll pardon me to back this up, okie dokie. I gotta tell you. Okay, Citigroup. Bailout Bank Bow. 10/28/08, they received $25 billion in bailout taxpayer funds. 11/23/08, they received $20 billion bailout funds. Total revenue in 2007, $159.2 billion. $159.2 billion total revenue. Net income, $3.6 billion. Alright. I'm backing up again. Alright, check this out. The amount of banks that have received this bailout money are your bigwigs that have received the bulk of it. Okay? I need you to understand something and get it in your mind, and I'm going to beat this till everybody gets it. These people, or these groups, these entities that have received this money have in no way, shape, form, or fashion done anything any different than Mr. Bernard Madoff did. Okay? And here's the thing. The American taxpayer will never recoup that debt that they have just been under without their consent. So, let me put this plain and simple and slow, and try not to get upset and try not to holler and try not to get passionate, even though I can holler if I want to, okay? I can do what I want to do on my videos because the freedom under the Constitution. But I'm going to try to slow this down for some folks and let them understand. The bailout money that has been given out is the Ponzi scheme that'll make it look like Mr. Madoff took a piece of bubble gum out of the dime store. Okay? We need to wake up and understand that this country has been bankrupt, and the federal government and the Federal Reserve and the Wall Street bigwigs is what bankrupted our country, my friend. Now, when you can get that resolved in your mind and you can understand that to be fact and truth, we can go a little bit further in recognizing that a lot of people have been fooled by this Ponzi scheme, by the Treasury Secretary of the Federal Reserve, and by your federal government. Okay? Another thing I want to bring out. The Constitution states that each state must adhere to a balanced budget. Martin tapped on it a little bit more when I made the video yesterday about it. They're going to use that as part of the reason to do away with the Constitution. And if you'll think for a minute and don't rush to judgment on what I'm saying, how else can you bring about a North American Union unless you break all three countries? How else can you bring about a North American Union unless you completely destroy and devalue the dollar till it's worth nothing? Okay? How else can you bring about dictatorial powers and take away the rights of people unless you destroy what brings about those rights, which is the Constitution? I mean, any idiot ought to know that that's what they're doing, is the destruction and the raping and the pillaging of what our founding fathers died for, that we could have, obtain, and retain for our children. I don't know how to bring about an eloquent speech, and I really don't care to, because I've sat in churches and I've listened to some of the most eloquent speeches you could ever hear. But the problem with them is a lot of them had a lot of tradition and lies mixed with a little bit of truth. And we as patriots don't have time for that bull crap. We've got to set our focus on any and all ways and means, maneuverabilities through YouTube, writing to congressmen, writing to senators. You know, when they come home, go knock on their door. You know, tell your local officials, you know, talk with your sheriffs, talk with all the, and say, man, can you not see what's going on? You know, I've tried to talk to some, well, yeah, well, there ain't nothing we can do about it. Well, no, there's nothing that person that just said that can do about it. And then I talk to others that say, yeah, what's the ideas? You got any ideas? And I give them ideas, they'll give me theirs. This is how we're going to do this. This is how we're going to win this. The ideas of you out there, and what few little old bitty things that I can investigate and come up with and think of, when it's put all together, is going to make the difference of whether we win or lose this fight. And like I said, till the day I die, I will believe that we are the winners. Be back with part 3 in just a minute.